All right. Well, like Micah said, thank you so much for all of you for being here. And hopefully you can hear me. Like, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Just want to make sure. So welcome to today's webinar, how trucking companies can benefit from paying per diem. So there are a few housekeeping points that we just want to make sure you're aware of. All of you have been muted for this session. But again, as Mike has said, if you've got any questions, please type them into that comment section, and we will have a question and answer time at the end of the webinar. Also, please do not click the big black X at the top. This is going to exit you from the webinar. So a little bit about us. We are the first payroll service in the US that is solely focused on trucking companies. Our core mission here is to help trucking families. That includes drivers, owners, and office employees. We are a full service provider and not a software rental. Each of our clients is assigned a dedicated account manager to handle the payroll week to week. We offer fully customizable reporting and pay stubs and so much more. Today, we are sponsored by Ascend TMS. Ascend TMS is the world's most popular TMS software and is so easy to use. They give your entire team complete control over your daily freight movements, and they will help you manage every aspect of your logistics and distribution operations. That includes sending your payroll data directly to us. We have a partnership with Ascend TMS, so contact us to find out what kind of deals are offered. And now a little bit about Mike. He has over 20 years of experience in the trucking industry. He was a CFO of a trucking company with 80 trucks and a thriving brokerage. This experience has given him the perspective that a payroll solution needs to make trucking payroll easier and less stressful. The solution he has designed is to benefit everyone.
Thank you, Melissa. We're going to talk about per diem today. Some of you know something about it. Some of you know all about it. Some of you have only heard it as a buzzword. So we're going to go back into a little bit of background. We're going to talk about why, as a trucking company, you want to pay this. It's beneficial to the trucking company and the driver. We're going to talk about other benefits of paying per diem. We're going to talk about the times when maybe you don't want to pay per diem and how to optimize it to take full advantage of this opportunity. It's a big deal if you're not doing this, and you can. And we're going to show you that. And again, questions and answers at the end. Any questions? Put them in the question box anytime. One of my favorite things is the questions we get, because it's nice feedback to me if I'm not being clear about something, or if there's something I should have put in a webinar like this. So hit us up. We love that stuff. All right, we're going to start with a little history. HR 1 in 2018, that was the big tax changes that happened at the end of 2018. That was when the standard deduction went up and things like that. They got rid of the personal exemptions. They made the W4 form from a 1.5 page form to a 3-page form. We have a whole webinar on our website about that. You can go watch that, about how to fill that out. It's every bit of a half an hour because they made it complicated. So that just is what it is. So that's a little more distant in our memory. But one of the things that came up was that some people were led to believe that per diem was no longer deductible for a truck driver who was out on the road and wasn't reimbursed by their employer. Well, it's true and it's not true. It's true in the sense of the truck driver who got a W-2. If they were deducting per diem previously, they can't do that anymore. It went through Form 2106 onto your Schedule A, and then you had to itemize to get it. And generally, you didn't get it with the state. But the standard deduction basically doubled. So most people weren't going to get it anyway. They weren't going to achieve it. And if they did, they were only going to get, the savings was going to be very small. That's again for the W-2 company drivers. But for owner operators, for trucking companies, per diem is still absolutely deductible. It's meals and incidentals while the driver's on the road that you're reimbursing them for. So it's absolutely deductible. It's deductible at 80% and the other 20% is non-deductible, and we'll go through that math. But for 2021 and 2022, because of COVID and all the changes they made to get people to go to restaurants again, they made meals 100% deductible for tax purposes, when it used to be 50% for most traditional businesses. And I've been waiting for the IRS to come out and say they're going to continue that, because I would have thought the restaurant lobby really would have tried to keep that going, but I haven't heard anything yet. You can leave it to Congress to do something at the last minute. It's not a shot at either side. I'm just saying that that's typically how that goes. So it still could happen, but at a minimum, it's 80% deductible, and we'll show you how that's a good deal. So here's more of the legal, try and keep yourself awake during part of the presentation here. Couple of different links to revenue procedures by the IRS. The top one is the most recent one, 2023-68, which shows the rate at $69 per day, which is the same rate it's been for the last couple years. Honestly, that surprises me too, as everything else has gotten more expensive, as we all know, except for ordering a truck around, that these rates haven't gone up. It refers to revenue procedure 2019-48, also listed here. And that's more detail, goes into, again, if you can't sleep some night, look it up, it'll knock you right out. But there's section 4 in there, special rules for the transportation industry. And that's where they define per diem. And the definition is that you've got to have drivers in more than one meals and incidental market, which if you're going more than 100 miles and you're not in the middle of Nebraska, no offense to Nebraska, but there's not a whole lot of big towns in the middle. You can pick another state out west, and it's probably true too. If you're in multiple meals and incidental markets and the driver is subject to hours of service regulations. One quick thing I want to point out is that being subject to hours of service regulations and having logs are two different things. Back in the old paper log days, right, you had a 150-mile radius, you didn't have to log. Well, we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've got Detroit a little less than 150 miles one way, and Chicago a little less than 150 miles the other way. You could go Detroit to Chicago and back to Grand Rapids and not have to log back in the day. So I just want to point out those people would still be eligible for per diem. They're in multiple meals and incidental markets. So, what we suggest that people do, this is really the crux of it, because you can pay $69 a day as a reimbursement for expense. We say pay that as a substitute for wage. What we mean is, if the driver was going to make $250 today as wage times miles or percentage or hourly rate, however you do it, instead of paying them $250 in wage, you pay them $250 less the $69 in per diem. So you pay them $181 in wage and pay them $69 in per diem to get them to the $250. And you do that so that everybody pays a little less tax and a little less of some other things. So what I want to do is walk you through an example. Per diem is not 100% deductible as we speak right now. It may become 100% deductible again. It's only 80% deductible, but we're going to incorporate that in our math. And it's going to get a little screwy, but just try and stay with me and ask questions if I'm not clear. In our example, we say that you have an 8% work comp rate for your drivers. It varies state to state. Some of you are in, I've seen the people that registered. Some of you are in higher states and some of you are in lower states, but that's just a kind of an average. I'm using a 21% marginal corporate income tax rate. What that means is I'm assuming that the trucking company's paying taxes at the highest rate to make it the least advantageous to you. So this is like the floor. It's just going to get better. And we're going to boil the whole thing down to one driver. That driver went 2,500 miles, actually 2,575. I changed the example. 55 cents a mile and 5 days out on the road. They went from Grand Rapids to Dallas, unloaded, went over to Fort Worth, reloaded, came home, had to spend an extra night somewhere. Because most drivers any driver would tell you that's not going to take 5 days, but it's close enough for what we want to do. So here we go. Again, this is where things get a little bit confusing sometimes, so I will try and go through this slowly, and I will please ask questions if I'm not being thorough. The rate times the miles, the 2,500 times 55 cents for yes paying per diem and no paying per diem is $13.75. It's the same. What we're going to do is we're going to take $345 out of the person we're paying per diem's check. We're just setting it aside. We're not taking it away from them forever. We'll get to that in the next couple slides. But that leaves you with $1,030 in wage. Okay, so then that $1,030 in wage, that'll all be deductible, and then 80% of the per diem will be deductible, which is $276. That's going to leave you with an extra taxable amount of $69. So you're going to pay tax on the $69 that you would not have. This is income tax at the corporate level. 21% of that, the highest rate we have is, I'm going to get my pen out here, is this number. Whoops, is that 1449. Uh-oh, I went backwards, didn't I? 1449. That's how much extra tax you'll pay in income tax. However, that's the bad part. This is the good part. There's $26.39, which is 7.65% of the per diem you're not going to pay payroll tax on. And all I counted was Social Security and Medicare. I didn't count unemployment because unemployment expires, has a wage limit. And I'm going to assume that you're already over that, or you're going to be over that anyway. So if I'm wrong about that, there are states, North Carolina, for example, has a higher wage limit. You might not ever exceed that. So then you'd save even more. But again, I'm trying to use the most financially conservative number. You're going to save $26.39. And then we got work comp. Generally speaking, and always check with your agent, but I've not ever seen a work comp policy that doesn't exclude per diem like this. They'll let you exclude up to $69 a day. So which would mean then $27.60 that's work comp premium you're not going to pay. That's in your pocket savings of, yeah, almost 28 bucks right there. So when you net out these three numbers, you net out the $14.49 that you're going to owe, but you're going to get back $26.39, you're going to get back $27.60. You're going to save $39.50 in actual money. Now, I don't like time savings money, where they tell you, oh, you're going to cut 1/3 of an FTE and that's going to cost you this much. It's none of that nonsense. This is less money you're sending out. $39.50 per week per driver. Now the math becomes, how many drivers do you have? And let's make $39.50 is great. That's a week. If you have 25 drivers, that's $53,000 a year you can put in your company's pocket. And I almost said put in your pocket, but that is embezzlement. You put it in your company's pocket. The accounting people can be the hero if you're the accounting person watching this for your company. It's a lot of money. 53 grand, 25 drivers. I know there are people that have signed up for this webinar that have more than 100 drivers. That's just multiplication math now. I put a link on here for how you can figure it out yourself on our website. Our website, I have a host issue this morning, of course, because we're doing a webinar, my host took a dump. So that's the technical term for it. Email us. Our emails will be at the end of this. All we need from you is how many drivers, full-time equivalents, which almost all of you, if that's the number of drivers, and what a work comp rate you want us to use. I don't even care if you give us a fake work comp rate. It doesn't matter to me. We'll email you back the math on this for your company. We're happy to do it, whether you're a client or not, doesn't matter. Our mission, as Melissa said, is to help trucking families. So, by the way, if you ever called us, you can ask whoever answers the phone what our mission is. And if they don't tell you to help trucking families in 3 seconds, send me an email. They're going to get a training session. But I'm confident that I won't have to give that training session because they all know, everybody knows the mission. So again, $53,000, man. I'd love to, that's a good day. Like right before your review, hey boss, what, maybe I save us $53,000 next year. What kind of raise do I get? Right? And they'll be like, oh yeah, whatever. It's a lot of money. Let's talk about the driver now, because typically it is a reasonable thing to think that because the company is benefiting, that the driver has to come from somewhere and that the driver would not benefit. Typically, it'd be almost like lowering pay. Like if you lowered your company's pay by 5 cents a mile, the company saves money, sure, but the driver loses money. This is not one of those circumstances. The driver's going to win too, and I'll walk you through it. The same, remember that 1375 and the 345 and the 1030 into 1375, that's all the same as the last slide, whether they get paid per diem or not. However, the driver who gets per diem pays $26.39 less in Social Security and Medicare. They pay $66 less in income tax because this is all marginal wage. It gets taxed at the higher rate. Significant, $66.29. The state, I use the state of Michigan. That's where I am. Your state may vary. Your state may not have income tax if you are in one of those lucky states like Texas and South Dakota, Tennessee, Florida, Nevada, and a few others. $14.66, that's Michigan. Michigan, for those of you who are not from here, have a 4.25% tax after the exemption. So that's 4.25% of the $345. Again, if yours is higher or lower, adjust your number. If you have questions about yours, like I said in the previous slide, reach out to us. We can walk you through it. So we have the net pay, though, before per diem. The driver who's getting per diem at $776.24 before getting the per diem back. The driver who doesn't have per diem is $999.26. But then we give them that per diem back as a reimbursed expense. And that's where the magic is. Because now that driver gets $1,121.24 instead of $999.26. That's $121.98 per week for that driver. That is the biggest raise they're ever going to get. And that's fantastic. That's what, $6,300 a year? That's huge. Imagine what they could do with, like, what could you do with $6,300 a year in your check, right? I know what I could do. I could go somewhere fun. Go where it's going to be warmer instead of in Grand Rapids, Michigan. There's lots of things I could do. So, man, 121 bucks. That's life-changing for these guys, men and women who drive trucks. So there's other benefits too. It really helps with the driver recruiting and retention. Those of you who already are paying per diem properly, and we're going to show you what properly is in a little bit, but you might already know. But if you're paying it already, make sure it's part of your recruiting. Make sure it's on your driver's wanted page. Hey, we max out per diem because we want to put as much money in your pocket as we can. It can be such a, if I were a driver, and I know I don't speak for all drivers because that's a very large population, but if I had the choice, I was looking between two companies, one of them told me they paid per diem and the other one didn't say anything about it, I'd be all over the per diem one. I'd be like, you're the guy I'm going to go work for. You're the company I'm going to go join because I'm going to get extra money. Even if I don't understand how, I know what more money is versus less money. I will always take that. So, and it's a tangible demonstration. This is my favorite thing. It's like you're showing the driver you're on their team. That I know with a lot of you feel like you have sometimes an adversarial relationship. Again, I was talking about one company, like the company gain is often the driver loss, or the driver gain is the company loss. Man, we got to be partners. Now, not literal partners. They don't own equity in the company, but we all got to work together and none of us make money. So this is a tangible demonstration to them that, look, I'm trying to put more money in your pocket. As a driver who can't be for that, they're at least going to feel like you're looking out for them. By the way, on our website, once it's up and running, which hopefully is now, we have a webinar archive that I'd encourage you to go to too. We have driver recruiting webinars and things like that in there. And there's more of these kinds of demonstrations that don't cost a lot of money, but could really be helpful. Another advantage for you though is less advances. And how much time do you spend just figuring out, trying to reconcile who owes you money? Okay, well, this guy took a fuel advance, and this guy we gave a loan to, and this guy we did this for, and this girl we did this for, and this person we did this for. It becomes a full-time job just keeping track of who owes you. You can, if you're giving the driver the extra 120 bucks a week, at least theoretically, they should be not needing as much money or money less often. Or you can say, because we're doing this, we're just not going to do advances anymore, or we're going to limit advances to $100 or something like that. You can do those things. Because yeah, keeping track of this stuff is just exhausting. As a sidebar, really quick, there's a company we work with called Zayzoon. They will actually eat the advances for you. They can do it all through an app. The driver can request it on an app. You're out of the advance business because if they don't pay it back, Zayzoon doesn't come to you for it. It's all run through us. If you're interested, reach out to us. Our stuff's at the end. But I just want to point out to you that there are other ways to get completely out of the advance business. None of you went into trucking so that you could be a bank to lend drivers money all the time, perpetually, every single week, every day. So we can help get you out of that. Better morale. Again, that goes to the tangible demonstration. The drivers are going to see, number one, that you're in their corner, that you want to help them. You want to help them get more money. You're also, because the losers in this are your insurance company and the government. I've not met many drivers that are super wanting to help the government, let alone trucking companies. The government is an obstacle to overcome for many of you, and that's fine. I get it. I'm down. It's good, but you're showing, hey, we're taking money from the government and giving it to you instead. Every driver loves that. It's great. I mean, every person loves that, right? None of us want to go pay more tax. If any of you do, just write them a check. But yeah, I'm not really thinking the IRS is going to get run over from checks on this. So that, it all makes sense to me. When I was talking about offering the drivers a choice, that's, yeah. That was in the previous slide, offering the driver a choice. I would never force per diem on a driver, and I'll go into that in a minute. But it's helpful to give them an illustrative look at their paycheck with and without per diem. I know this slide is hard to see. We can email you copies of these two PDFs that are in the slide, and we'll do that after the webinar so that you have something bigger. But it goes through and it shows the math. And on the one on the left, you see the paycheck amount, $1,121.24. And then you have the one without per diem, labeled no per diem, like that was their name, $999.26. Same exact loads, same exact tax setup, same exact everything except for the per diem. So you can say to the driver, hand them both pieces of paper. Which one do you want? And you can tell them it's not a trick question, and you can kind of nudge the yes per diem, here, take this one. It's better for them and it's better for you. So again, I'm happy to we'll email these out to everybody with other stuff, slides and stuff like that. But I think this is a great way to show them, look, do you want more money or less money? Right? So yeah, it'll be easier to see on that one too. So yeah, this is just the same slide as the last one where I wanted to go into offering the option to give drivers the choice. As I'm sure you all are aware, drivers like to be able to make some of these decisions. And if you just tell them, hey, we are unilaterally starting a per diem policy that we had not started before, you're all going to do it, you're going to have drivers get upset. At the same time, if you said to the drivers, hey, we're going to give you all $100, they'd be like, well, why not 200? So they're all going to be upset because you forced it on them. You want to give them the choice, but you want to encourage them to do per diem. That's what I'm saying. And again, I hope many of you are chuckling in the background when I talk about the drivers, because I've worked with them too. Melissa worked with them. We know for too long. They're not bad people. They just have been burned by enough other people that they're naturally suspicious. Here we go. Downsides to per diem. Because I've told you all these great things, I want to give you possible pitfalls. One of them is the drivers can't deduct it on their 1040 anymore, but they can't anyway. So I listed in there, but that's really not a thing. But it used to be a thing. Work comp claims for the driver will probably be paid at the net of the per diem amount, which would be in the example that 1,030 instead of the 1,300 or whatever of the amount. I don't remember the exact amount, but yeah, you're like, not the 1,300, the lesser, the 965 or whatever it was, 955. I've not met many trucking companies that makes them sad, but I'm just pointing it out because your premiums are less, so the claims would be less. That's the idea. The last thing is, admittedly self-serving. Your payroll person or payroll service needs to understand what you're doing. If you're somebody who's doing payroll in-house right now, you can do all of this. I've shown you how to do it. So it doesn't mean that you have to use us, as much as I wish it were so. But you got to make sure you understand it right. I've seen national payroll providers get sideways with this because everything is entered by the client, and they either entered just the deduction for the per diem and not the reimbursement, where the client employees got short paid, and man, were they mad. Or they forgot to put in the deduction and only gave them the reimbursement, and then they overpaid everybody. So now you've got the owner being mad and the drivers being mad the next week when you take it back. Mm-hmm. That's super fun. Both of those are bad days. So just make sure that you're really clear about putting it in and taking it out and where you do it. Of course, again, shameless plug, that's what we do all day. When not to pay per diem. I'm going to try and make this quick so we can get to some questions, but you're going to have a driver come in and say, my sister-in-law's uncle's friend saw this thing on Facebook, and I bet per diem is a scam. It's just a total scam, and you're trying to stick it to us. Well, recommend they see a counselor because they need to probably work through some paranoia issues. However, arguing with them about it, not the way to go. Show them what I showed you. We'll send you the PDF of the webinar. You can show them that. They can find it online. It'll be on our website in a couple days. They can find it there, but you still can't convince them, right? It's not worth losing a driver over this. Don't win the fight and lose the driver. If a driver says, I don't want per diem, cool. We think you should do it. We think you're leaving money on the table, but your life, man, you don't want per diem. We're not going to pay it for you. And then they go, oh, okay. Again, they feel like they're in charge of it and they really get a kick out of that, which is most people, not just drivers. Sometimes the bank doesn't understand because they're making $1,300 a week, but now their W-2 is not going to show 65 grand a year. It's going to show less than that. On the W-2, in box 12, those little boxes with the letters, there's a letter L. The per diem amount will be there. Additionally, if you ever need it, reach out to us. We can send the bank a letter explaining it to them. We've done it before. The banks don't understand this at all, but they'll believe me when I tell them because they want to make that loan anyway. They don't make any money not making loans. So, but the main thing is never, ever, 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 ever lose a driver over this. It's not worth, especially a good driver. Not worth it. Don't pay that driver. Don't lose that driver over that fight. Here, before we get into a couple of quick optimization things, this is when we had you register, we asked you about your per diem policy. I took out all the people that did not have drivers. We have some people who have some brokerages or some, I think there's a factoring company, might be some software people in here, other people that just want to learn about trucking, which by the way, I'm glad you're here. We always want to spread the word. Again, that's consistent with our mission. So I took all those people out and this is the rest of them. So we've got as you can see in the pie chart here, we've got the people that pay $69 a day. You guys all get a gold star. You're doing it right. Fantastic for you. And then you see all the other ones, cents per mile, percentage driver pay, don't pay per diem at all, and pay a different amount per day. You guys are the ones we need to talk to for the most part, because I think we can either save you money or keep you compliant. And I say or, because if you're paying another amount per day or a percentage or cents per mile, you could be taking out too much or too little. If you're not taking out $69 a day, you're leaving money on the table. And right now in trucking, no one should be leaving money on the table. I know that that's my Captain Obvious thought for the day, but no one should be leaving any money on the table right now. Every little bit you can get, you should get. Some of you though might be paying too much. If you're paying it as a mileage and that driver just, I don't know how they log, they just run crazy miles. If you're paying it too much, or percentage wise also, they got a really good load for some reason. The too much is out of compliance with the IRS. And that is a problem too. You don't want that. I know that you all love the DOT. Wait until you meet the IRS. They will come down with savagery and they'll put you on blast too. Like they'll make an announcement in the press. Hey, we shut these guys down. I know the DOT does too, but it's the same problem in a different name for most trucking companies. Like it's not anything you want anything to do with. So my biggest suggestion, everybody, pay it per day. Figure it out. Pay it per day. Some of you will say, well, my software, whether it's your TMS or your payroll software or you in a PEO, and they won't let us do it. The software won't allow it. The PEO won't allow it. Switch software. You saw how much money we were going to save, right? $53,000 for a 25-person company. You can get new software that's probably better anyway. As far as TMSs go, most of them, there are some that do payroll. Most of them don't. Most of them will just do settlement sheets. We take those settlement sheets and we put the per diem in after the fact for our clients that want it. And so that's not an obstacle. If your PEO doesn't do it, it's because they're jacking your rate because they get paid on a percentage of wage, and per diem will be a reimbursement and they don't get to charge you for that as easily. Per diems are not awesome, or PEOs are not awesome. So yeah, just think about that. And if you're not sure how to overcome the obstacle, reach out to us. We'll try and help you with it. Again, whether you're a client of ours or not, is not the important part of this. Our mission is to help trucking families. So It's time for questions. As you can see on the page in front of you, there's a bunch of different links. We're going to email you this. That's going to be the first question. I haven't even looked at the questions yet. That's going to be the first one where you're going to send us copies of the slides. Yes, I am. You'll get those in the next couple days. All these links will be on there. I want to point out the bottom one. Clients of ours get 3 months free on Ascend TMS. Ascend's been a great partner to us. They love trucking like we love trucking. They put the payroll export in there because we called them and asked them to do it. Like, that's how great they're like, oh, this would be a great feature for our clients. And that was the whole decision making right there. It's good for our clients. We're going to do it. So if you're not a client of ours, I think you can still get a 30-day trial. You go to the same link, 30-day free trial. I don't even think they ask for a credit card. It's not one of those that's going to auto repeat on you all the time like my Netflix. And then you've got our LinkedIn and our YouTube. We have a ton of videos on our YouTube page. We keep adding more. Go there, subscribe to it. That can, I think that'd be great for you. There's all kinds of different things. And if you see a video, or if you look through our videos and you're like, man, I'd really love a video or an article about this, please, please, please send us an email. We want to be helpful. If you have that question, 1,000 other people have that question. So any question is good. If I can't answer it, if it's something weird and trivial and I can't answer it, then I can't answer it, but that's okay. Take that chance. Send it out to us. One of the questions I have is, okay, so I want to get right with per diem. I'm not one of the $69 a day people, but I want to be. How soon? How do I start? And when do I start? Is usually how it gets asked, but how do I start? I'm going to answer, when do you start first? You start today, immediately, this week. You tell your drivers today. You start paying it as soon as you can get your next payroll processed. Why wait 6 more weeks till the first of the year to start saving money? You can do this right now, and you can save your company money right now. Again, for 25 drivers, you're going to save $1,000 this week of real money. It's worth it, obviously. I would even gently encourage those of you who want to get right with per diem that I could deduct more. Maybe you go back and retro some of that. You can only retro up to the actual wage that's out there. You can't have negative wage and negative FICA. That makes a big mess, and it's probably not worth cleaning that up. If you're concerned about it, reach out to us, talk to us about it. We'll offer you best advice individually for you. But I would start that right now. I would get it going. If you're only paying there were some of you in here that said you paid a different amount per day. I'd bump that up to 69 right now, and I'd look at retroing the rest of it for the whole year. If it's not a significant amount, if it's a significant amount, I'd take as much as their wage and I'd keep track of it. Then the driver basically with 1,300 gross will get 1,300 net because there won't be any taxes until you get caught up on per diem. That's a good day for them, man. That's Christmas presents. So can't encourage that enough. How do I introduce it to my drivers is another question. Well, the way you introduce it is you show them the two PDFs that I had in that slide, and you explain, and you first show them the one with how it's good for the driver. Show them that one too. My advice again would be to correct it to your wage rates and things. If I'm a little generous with the pay rates, I think I set that up when driver pay rates were going crazy. So if you're not paying 55 cents a mile, if you're paying 50 cents a mile, set it up for that. Figure out the taxes if you can. If not, call us. We'll help you. Show them that slide where it says yes and no per diem, and then show them the 2 pay stubs and say, look, we're tired of only giving you this much when we can give you this much more. What do you think? And the drivers are going to be like, well, yeah, let's go. So that's again my advice on that. I actually am 4 minutes. I'm looking up at the clock. I'm 4 minutes over my time. So with that, I'm going to end the webinar for now. If you have other questions later, contact information is in here. We'd love to hear from you. We might call you and just ask you what you thought of the webinar. Was it helpful? We want to make these webinars as good as possible for everybody. We don't want to waste your time. And if you have ideas for future webinars, we'd love those. The main thing is coming up with a topic that's going to be worthwhile to you. So please, please let us know, and we'll do a webinar about it probably, or bring in an expert from another field. Did you want to talk to a trucking recruiting expert? Did you want to talk to an attorney or an accountant? We have some of these scheduled already, so we'll reach out to you when they're ready to go. But you can ask these guys. It's kind of free expertise from especially from me and from the other people, like that you can just get that usually just 1,000 trucking companies get, and you have access to the same people. So that's our goal, to provide that. So with that, I'm going to end the webinar. I thank you all for being here. Again, look for the email with the sample pay stubs and the PDF, and keep on trucking. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.